Something unusual is happening in Europe and most people aren't talking about it loudly. While headlines focus on inflation, rising housing costs, and political tension across the continent, one country keeps quietly attracting foreigners at an unexpected pace. Not through hype, not through flashy marketing, but through lifestyle. That country is Portugal. Every year, tens of thousands of foreigners, especially Americans, Canadians, and Northern Europeans, pack their lives into suitcases and start over here. Not because they're rich, not because they're retiring early, but because, for many of them, Portugal represents something they feel they've lost back home: time, safety, affordability, and peace of mind. What's surprising is that most people who move to Portugal didn't plan to. They discovered it accidentally through a vacation, a friend's recommendation, or a late-night search that started with cheapest countries to live well in Europe. But once they arrive, something changes. Life slows down. People walk instead of rush. Meals last longer. Neighbors talk to each other. And the constant pressure to grind quietly fades into the background. This is not the Europe of postcards and luxury travel. It's everyday life lived simply, calmly, and intentionally. Portugal offers something rare in today's world. A place where you don't have to earn more every year just to survive. For many expats, the appeal starts with cost of living. Rent, food, healthcare, and transportation remain significantly cheaper than in the US, Canada, or much of Western Europe. But that's only the surface reason. The deeper reason is emotional. People feel safe here. They feel welcome, and they feel lighter. Crime rates are low. Gun violence is nearly non-existent. Healthcare is accessible. And the culture values balance over burnout. Even in cities, there's a noticeable calm. You don't feel watched. You don't feel rushed. You don't feel like you're constantly falling behind. And perhaps most importantly, Portugal doesn't demand that you change who you are to belong. Foreigners are not treated like outsiders. They're treated like guests who decided to stay. But how did Portugal become this place? Why here and not Spain, Italy, or France? And what exactly are people escaping from and moving toward? That's where this story gets interesting. Because Portugal's rise as Europe's quiet expat haven wasn't accidental. It was built step by step over decades. Portugal didn't become an expat magnet by accident. It happened because the country made a series of quiet, long-term decisions that most nations avoided. Instead of chasing aggressive growth, Portugal focused on stability. Instead of building pressure-filled cities, it protected livability. And instead of closing its doors during global uncertainty, it opened them carefully. One of the biggest turning points was how Portugal redefined quality of life. Here, success isn't measured by how busy you look, but by how well you live. Shops close early. Weekends are respected. Lunch is not rushed. This culture shock is exactly what draws people in. Foreigners arriving from high-stress environments often describe the same feeling during their first few weeks. Everything feels slower, but in a good way. And that's intentional. Portugal invested heavily in public health care, walkable cities, public transportation, and safety even when it wasn't trendy to do so. As a result, daily life feels manageable. You don't need a luxury income to live with dignity here. Another key reason people are choosing Portugal is predictability. In many countries, expats worry about sudden policy changes, social tension, or rising hostility toward foreigners. In Portugal, the environment has remained calm and consistent for years. People mind their business, They respect privacy, and they value peace over conflict. This attitude extends to foreigners as well. Instead of resentment, there's curiosity. Instead of hostility, there's patience. English is widely spoken, especially in cities and coastal towns, which lowers the barrier for newcomers. But at the same time, locals appreciate those who make even small efforts to integrate. There's no pressure to prove yourself. You're allowed to exist quietly. Another major factor is geography. Portugal offers ocean views, mild winters, warm summers, and more than 300 days of sunshine a year without the extreme weather found in many popular destinations. You can live near beaches, hills, vineyards, or historic towns, often within a short drive of each other. For retirees, remote workers, and lifestyle migrants, this flexibility is powerful. You're not locked into one way of living. You can adjust your pace and your environment as your life changes. And then there's the emotional side that rarely gets mentioned. People move to Portugal because they feel less anxious here, less watched, less pressured, less exhausted. They sleep better. They walk more. They spend time outdoors. And slowly, their priorities change. Money becomes a tool, not a constant worry. But this raises an important question. If Portugal is so appealing, why isn't everyone moving here? And what are the hidden realities foreigners only discover after they arrive? Because while Portugal offers a calmer life, it also requires adjustment. By now, Portugal may sound like the perfect escape. And for many people it truly is. But no country offers a perfect life, only a different one. Living in Portugal comes with trade-offs that every foreigner eventually has to face. The first adjustment is pace. Things move slowly here, not just socially, but bureaucratic ally. Paperwork takes time. Appointments get rescheduled. Processes don't rush for anyone. For people used to instant results and fast systems, this can feel frustrating at first. But over time, many expats realize something important. The same slowness that delays paperwork also removes stress from daily life. You stop expecting urgency from everything. You learn patience not because you have to, but because the environment encourages it. Another reality is income. While Portugal is affordable, local wages are low compared to the US or Northern Europe. That's why many foreigners who thrive here are retirees, remote workers, or people with income from abroad. If you rely on local salaries alone, life can feel tighter. This isn't a country you move to in order to get rich. It's a country you move to in order to live better. Language is another adjustment. Although English is common in cities and tourist areas, daily life becomes easier and more fulfilling when you learn basic Portuguese. Locals appreciate the effort. Even if your accent isn't perfect, you're not expected to become Portuguese, but you're rewarded for respecting the culture. There's also the reality of rising popularity. As more foreigners discover Portugal, housing demand has increased in certain areas. Prices in Lisbon, Porto, and some coastal towns have risen, especially in desirable neighborhoods. This has created tension in a few places, but compared to other expat hotspots, Portugal remains relatively calm, open, and balanced. And that's what continues to attract people. Because at its core, Portugal offers something rare. A life where safety isn't a luxury, where healthcare isn't terrifying, where community still exists. People who move here often say the same thing after a year. I didn't come to Portugal to escape my country. I came to escape the pressure. They wanted mornings without anxiety, evenings without exhaustion, and a future that felt manageable. Portugal doesn't promise excitement every day. It promises stability. And in today's world, that's becoming the most valuable currency of all. So whether Portugal truly is Europe's one escape depends on one question. Are you looking for more noise or more peace? Because Portugal has quietly chosen its side. And for many foreigners, that choice makes all the difference.